Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is First Class Tillman Johnson, and today we're going to talk about United States Army TMDE activity. At some point in time in everyone's life, you've walked up to a scale, hypothetically at a gym. You stepped on that scale and pretty much questioned the accuracy of that scale. So how do you, as the person standing on that scale, how do you know that that scale is accurate? Okay, well, that's the job of the United States Army TMD activity. We are the people that certify to tell you that this scale is accurate and this is an accurate measurement. United States Army TMD activity's mission is pretty much simple, and that's to execute Department of the Army standards and calibration and repair support in accordance with AR 750-43 and ensure that all measurement equipment or all calibration standards are traceable to the National Institute of Standards and Technology. Okay, USADA, the makeup of USADA. USADA is broken up into 5 regions that covers the entire globe. Regions 1, 2, and 3 cover the United States. The cone is the United States. From your Atlantic seaboard all the way to the Pacific seaboard. Region 4, also known as Region Europe, covers Europe, Northern Africa, and Southwest Asia. Region 5, also known as Region Pacific, currently where I am, they cover East Asia, Japan, Korea, Philippines, etc. There are 61 calibration facilities in the United States that provide calibration support for every piece of test, measurement, or diagnostic equipment that the Army supports. So pretty much no matter where you are worldwide, there is a lab or facility that can provide that calibration support. Okay. Once you get a piece of equipment, it's like how do I, if I don't know anything about calibration, how do I know that this piece of equipment is calibrated and it is certified by USADA? Well, that piece of equipment will be affixed with a DA label 80 or a DA label 163. Okay, a DA label 80 certifies that that piece of equipment was calibrated on this day. It'll tell you the calibration void date. It'll also tell you who calibrated it and which facility calibrated it. Hold that. The DA label 163 is a limited cal or a special cal. And that, for example, is you have a range or something, which is usually the example of something that goes to 10. And hypothetically, if that item is only calibrated to a certain range, we'll say 8. So between 8 and 10 was not calibrated, that would make it a limited cal. And the label would identify what the range was that wasn't calibrated. So that's how you know that a piece of equipment is calibrated. The next part of the USADA mission is traceability. They must and will ensure traceability to the National Institute of Standards and Technology. And I'll explain that also. Okay, say you have a soldier that's using a multimeter, typical multimeter on an aircraft. This multimeter tests different voltage points throughout that aircraft. So this soldier wants to know how does he know if this multimeter is accurate? Well, that soldier would take that multimeter to an ATST, which is an area TMD support team. That ATST will calibrate that multimeter using a known standard of accuracy. Okay. At that facility, that known standard of accuracy must be more accurate than the piece of equipment that you're calibrating. Hypothetically, that multimeter. We'll just use this as an example. We'll say we'll go over to 1 digit. That standard that the ATST uses is calibrated to 2 digits. We'll say it would double. And thus, the ATST's equipment is calibrated by a TSC, which is a TMD support center. And then their standards that they use to calibrate their standards are even more accurate. And then above the TSC, you have the Army Primary Secondary Reference Lab. The Army Primary Secondary Reference Lab is pretty much the God and be-all of measurement standards for the Army. And those are the guys that certify secondary levels standards, who certifies the ATST standards. And then above the Army Primary Secondary Reference Lab is NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology. Those are the guys that set the standards for the world and what we are known to use throughout the world, honestly. And it's like those are the guys that determine that an inch is an inch, a pound is a pound, a volt is a volt. So, from that user, back to that soldier using that multimeter on that aircraft, that piece of equipment was checked by ATST, whose equipment was checked by TSC, whose equipment was checked by the Army Primary and Secondary Reference Lab, whose equipment was checked by NIST. Thus, you get the line of traceability. Okay. In conclusion, everything that we use in the military to test, measure, or diagnose gets calibrated. And the way for a soldier or anyone to know if this piece of equipment has been calibrated is if that meter or that piece of equipment is affixed with DA label 80 or 163. United States Army TMD activity, or USADA for short, those are the guys that ensure that everything that we use to test, measure, or diagnose is calibrated and is verified and is traceable to the National Institute of Standards and Technology. And so, next time you get on the scale, next time you use a multimeter, next time you use a torque wrench, take a look at it. Look and see if it's been certified, if it's been calibrated. If it does have that label on it, then you know it was calibrated by USADA facility and it is 100% accurate. That's about it.